Good morning, dear children. I'm going to conduct a class on Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 2. The particular scene takes place in Belmont, a room in Portia's house. Portia and Nerissa are having a conversation, and Portia seems to be tired of this world. She is tired because she doesn't have a will to choose her own husband, because the will of Portia is curbed by the will of her dead father. According to her dead father, he had kept 3 caskets of gold, silver and lead, and whoever chose the correct casket would get to marry Portia. So Portia seems to be a little frustrated and tired of this world because of that particular fact. Because she doesn't have the freedom, she doesn't have her own will to choose her own husband. But Nerissa seems to be her companion, her friend, her attendant, and she tries to console Portia and tell her that her father was really virtuous and he has done a very good thing by keeping the caskets of gold, lead and silver for Portia. Because according to Nerissa, what she believes is the one who will really love Portia would choose the right casket, the correct casket. So that's why Nerissa seems to be a very, very optimistic person here, and she tries to cheer Portia. She tries to really accompany her. She tries to really freshen up her mood, and she tries to bring about a ray of hope in Portia's life. So let's see what the scene has to tell us. Belmont, a room in Portia's house. Enter Portia and Nerissa. So Portia says, "By my troth, Nerissa, my little body is aweary of this great world." So Portia, as I've already said to you, she seems to be tired of this great world because of so many reasons. And Nerissa tells her, "You would be sweet, madam, if your miseries were in the same abundance as your good fortunes are. And yet for aught I see, they are as sick that surfeit with too much as that they starve with nothing." So Nerissa tells her, "You would be tired, madam, if you had bad luck rather than wealth and good luck." But she tells her that even those people who have too much of everything, even they suffer like those people who have nothing in their life. So even people who have lots of wealth and lots of everything, they suffer just like those people who have got nothing in their life. So this is one way in which Nerissa tries to really boost up her willpower and really tries to freshen up her mood. And she really tries to be very much optimistic and tries to pacify Portia. So she tells her that even people with nothing, they are as unhappy as those people with everything. So even those people who have nothing, they suffer, and even those people who have everything, they also suffer. So she tells her, "It's no mean happiness, therefore, to be seated in the mean." So that means it's always good to be placed in between. That means not to have too much and not to have too less. So if you are in between, then you become the happiest person in this world, because you don't have to worry too much about having a lot of everything and not to worry about not having anything. So if you are placed in between the two extremities, then you become the happiest person in this world. Because according to Nerissa, superfluity comes sooner by white hairs, but competency lives longer. So that means when you have too much of wealth, you become old very soon. But by just having enough helps you to live longer. So that's why Portia is now a little bit pacified by what Nerissa had to say. Because according to Nerissa, having too much of wealth and good luck, those are not the only things to survive in this world. Because when you have too much of everything, then you don't seem to be very happy. So if you are placed in between the extremities of having everything and not having anything, then you become happier and you become the happiest person in this world, in fact. So Nerissa tries to really boost up her confidence level by saying all these. So Portia becomes very happy and she says, "Good sentences and well pronounced. Oh, those are good points. And you have said it very well." But Nerissa says, "That would be better if well followed. But only if you follow whatever I have said, then it would be good for you. If you don't follow it, then it's useless saying anything to anybody. So it will be good only if you follow whatever I have said to you." So Portia says, "If to do were as easy to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches and poor men's cottages, princes' palaces." So she says, you are telling me that it's better if I do all these things, but do you think it's that easy? If doing good deeds were as easy as knowing how to do them, then the chapels would have been big churches and the poor men's cottages would have been palaces. So the impossible would have happened if doing good deeds were as easy as knowing how to do them. So Portia wants to follow the advice of Nerissa, but she thinks that it is not that easy. So she says, if what do good were as easy to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches and poor men's cottages, princes' palaces. It's a good divine that follows his own instruction. So the priest who preaches to people, if he can follow his own instructions, then it would be better. But sometimes you know what happens? Whatever people say, they cannot follow those things. They preach something else, but they practice something else. So if a priest can practice what he preaches, then that would be a very good thing for him to do. So you are telling me all these things, but I don't think it would be that easy to perform these things. Had that been possible, then the impossible would have happened. It's a good divine that follows his own instructions. I can easier teach 20 what were good to be done than be one of those 20 to follow my own teaching. So, it's very easy for me to lecture 20 people how to be good, to do this is good, to do that is good, this would be good for you, that would be good for you. But it would be very difficult for me to follow my own teachings and my own advice and my preachings. It would be very difficult to do that. So, it's very easy to preach to another person what is good, what is bad. But when you yourself, you need to follow those, then it becomes a little difficult and sometimes even impossible. So that's why a person who can really practice what he preaches, that would be a very good thing for him to do. But sometimes that seems to be impossible. Sometimes that does not happen. Sometimes we work out something else, but something else happens. So it's very good to tell people what is good, what is bad, you need to do this, you need to do that. But when it comes to you actually doing it, then it becomes very, very difficult. So that's why I think sometimes it would be impossible to follow one's own teachings. The brain may devise laws for the blood, but a hot temper leaps over a cold degree. So sometimes what happens is, the brain may devise laws, the rules and regulations, but sometimes we may not be able to follow that. So that's why the brain may devise laws for the blood, but a hot temper leaps over a cold degree. So sometimes we may think of this, we may think of that. Our brain may tell us to do this and to do that, but sometimes due to our bad temper, due to our behavior, due to our attitude, we may not be able to follow whatever we have devised or whatever our brain has devised. Because, we are, after all, we are human beings, and sometimes things do not turn out to be the way we want it. So that's why sometimes it may not be possible to follow what our brain has devised for us, because our brain may devise anything, but if you don't follow those things, then it's useless devising those things. So sometimes we may think of something, our brain may think of something, but that does not happen. Sometimes the opposite may happen. So the brain may devise laws, but what happens, because of our attitude, because of our temper, we don't tend to do those things. We tend to lose our confidence level and we tend to go into another way, another path. We don't follow the things that our brain has devised. So that is what Portia wants to say. But a hot temper leaps over a cold decree. Such a hare is madness. To skip over the measures of good counsel, the cripple. So because we young people, we are just like young rabbits. We just keep on hopping from here to there. We are young, we are vibrant, we are energetic. So we are just like young rabbits. And the advice given by somebody is just like a crippled old man trying to catch those youngsters. So we are just like hare. Sometimes we become like hare. We jump from here, we jump from there, and we don't listen to the advice of anybody. So that's why sometimes the advice given by somebody just becomes like a crippled old man trying to catch those youngsters. Because an old man does not have that vigor, does not have that enthusiasm and that kind of attitude inside him that he can go and catch a young person. Because a young person is full of energy and he can do whatever he wants. But an old man may not be able to do that. So sometimes the advice given by the others may not turn out to be that good, and we may sometimes not listen to their advice. And sometimes the advice given by somebody may just skip out of our minds and we may become astray and we may tend to go into some other direction. That's why it is just like that. But this reasoning is not in the fashion to choose me a husband. But this thinking would not help me to choose a husband. Oh me, the word choose. I may neither choose who I would nor refuse who I dislike. Because for me, this word choose is not applicable. Because I can't choose the one whom I like nor refuse the one whom I dislike. Because I don't have that will. Because my will is curbed by the will of my dead father. So for me, the word choose is not applicable in my life. Because that does not have any meaning in my life. I cannot choose the one whom I like and I cannot refuse the one whom I dislike. I don't have that liberty. I don't have that freedom. Because what she says is, the will of a living daughter is curbed by the will of a dead father. So, my will is curbed by the will of my dead father. He has already devised a lottery for me and I have to obey the lottery devised by my father. I cannot go against the wishes of my father. So here, Portia is shown as a very, very generous and a loving daughter and a very, very obedient person. She does not want to go against the wishes of her father. She does not want to go against whatever her father has devised for her. She just wants to follow the instructions of her father. That's why she says, for me, the word choose does not have any kind of meaning in my life. It's not applicable in my life because my father has already devised a law, a will for me, and I have to follow that. I cannot go against the will of my father because he has already left a will which I have to follow, and going against the will of my father is impossible for me because my father has already thought of something for me, and being a very, very loyal daughter, being a very, very obedient daughter, I cannot go against the will of my father. So that's why for me the word choose does not have any kind of meaning. I have to follow my father's instructions. Is it not hard, Nerissa, that I cannot choose one nor refuse none? So isn't it very, very difficult, Nerissa, that I cannot choose or refuse anyone, Nerissa? I cannot choose and I cannot refuse. Whoever chooses the right casket, I'll have to marry that person. So I cannot choose, I cannot refuse, and I am in a very, very difficult situation at this point of time, because I cannot go here, I cannot go there. If somebody chooses the right casket, then I have to marry that person. I cannot just go against the wishes of my father. So, if somebody comes and chooses the casket and that person chooses the right casket, then I have to marry that person. So, I cannot choose, I cannot refuse. So, at this point of time, I am in a very, very difficult situation. So, Nerissa now, at this point of time, she says, your father was ever virtuous, and holy men at their death have good inspiration. So your father was an extremely virtuous person, and religious people get those ideas when they are about to die, because your father was a holy person, a very virtuous person. So these kind of people really do get ideas on their deathbed. Therefore, the lottery that he had devised in these 3 chests of gold, silver and lead, whereof who chooses his meaning, chooses you, will no doubt never be chosen by any rightly, but one who shall rightly love. So that's why your father's idea of having a husband for you according to the caskets, that means he has kept the 3 caskets of gold, lead and silver, and whoever chooses the right casket would get to marry you. That is a very good idea for you. So your father, according to that will get a husband for you, and I feel only the one which really loves you will choose the right casket. So I think whatever your father has done for you, he has done the right thing, because he was a very virtuous and a very, very holy person. So that's why I don't think anybody else would just go and choose the casket, but only the one who really loves you would get to choose the right casket. But what warmth is there in your affection towards any of these princely suitors that are already come? But tell me, do you like any of these people who have come here to choose the casket? Do you have any kind of feeling, any kind of affection for any one of them? If you have so, please tell me. Do you like any of these people who have come to choose the casket? Do you like any one of them? Do you have any kind of love and affection for any of these princes who have come here? If you have so, then please tell me, please let me know. I pray thee, overname them, and as thou namest them, I will describe them. Yes, you just read the list and you name them, and as you name them, I shall describe them for you. And she says, and according to my description, level at my affection. So as you name them, I shall describe them, and from the description you can guess how much I feel towards them, how much I feel for them. So you just go on naming them, and I shall tell you whether I really have any kind of feelings for those people or not. So you name them, you just go through the list, you just run through the list, and I'll tell you whether I have any kind of affection, whether I have any kind of feelings for those people or not. Then you would come to know exactly where do I stand and what kind of feelings do I have for them. So whether I have it or not, you will come to know, because when you just tell me their names, I shall be describing those people. So when I describe those people, then you will know exactly whether I have any kind of feelings for them or not, and whether I feel for anybody or not. So this is what Portia and Nerissa, they were discussing about regarding the suitors and the marriage of Portia. And this is how Nerissa tries to lift up her spirits and tries to cheer her up, make her happy. So this is the conversation between Nerissa and Portia. So I'll stop here for today, and I shall continue with the scene tomorrow. But before leaving, I would just like to give you a few questions. So the first question is, explain the following. They are as sick that surfeit with too much as that they starve with nothing. So you need to explain these lines. And B, it's a good divine that follows his own instructions. So you need to explain these two phrases. So you need to explain the first one, write down the meaning of the first one and write down the meaning of the second one. So these two questions you need to solve. And tomorrow when I complete the scene, then you will be getting some more questions to solve in your notebooks. And these questions you will have to solve it in your notebooks. So you just do these two questions for today. Tomorrow I will be giving you some more questions. So please explain the following. They are as sick that surfeit with too much as that they starve with nothing. And the second one, it's a good divine that follows his own instructions. Only these two you need to explain and write down the meanings in your notebook. So tomorrow I'll be giving you some more questions. So let's wrap up the class for today. Thank you very much.